Hey everyone, welcome back. So, there's something happening in Washington right now that a lot of people are still trying to make sense of, but it could seriously affect your everyday life. It's a massive new proposal from President Trump's administration called the One Big Beautiful Bill. But underneath that title is a bill with some pretty serious consequences, especially for folks living on fixed incomes or lower wages. Now here's something that might surprise you. If you're 65 or older, you'll benefit two ways. There's a bigger standard deduction, going up from $12,000 to $16,000 for single filers, plus a new $6,000 extra deduction just for seniors with moderate incomes. At first glance, that sounds like a win, but here's the thing. It's not the full removal of Social Security taxes that was promised, and it falls short of what many hoped for. And that's just one part of a much bigger story. Before we get into that, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing that's gotten noticeably harder to afford in your life lately? Groceries, rent, utilities? Let me know in the comments. It helps build a conversation, and you never know who you might help by sharing. And if you want to stay informed about how changes in government policy affect real people like you, hit that subscribe button. I'm here to help make sense of it all without all the noise. So let's start with the tax change. During the campaign, the big promise was to make Social Security benefits tax-free. That caught a lot of attention, especially from older Americans. But in the Senate's version of the bill, that promise shifted into two things: a bigger standard deduction for everyone and an extra $6,000 deduction for people 65 and older with moderate incomes. If you're single, your standard deduction jumps to $16,000, plus the $6,000 if you qualify. It's still not the full removal of taxes on Social Security, but it does lower taxable income somewhat. And it's set to last indefinitely, unlike the earlier House version. And the thing is, if you're in that income range and qualify, it might lower your tax bill a bit, maybe by around $1,000 or so, depending on your situation. But it's not the complete removal of Social Security taxes that people were expecting. And so why not? Well, the full proposal would have cost around $100 billion a year. Congress scaled it down to $18 billion to make it easier to pass under budget rules. So it's kind of a halfway solution. Now let's talk about education, because that's where things start to look very different. For students from low-income families, this bill reduces the amount of help they can get to pay for college. The maximum Pell Grant stays about the same for now, but other student aid programs still face pressure as Congress looks for savings. And when you think about how much tuition has gone up over the years, that gap makes a real difference. Students might have to borrow more, work more hours, or even delay school. And the bill also cuts back on work-study programs and makes it harder for low-income students to get affordable health insurance year-round. So if someone's trying to be the first in their family to graduate college, their path just got harder. And it doesn't stop there. Let's look at healthcare and food assistance, things people rely on every day. The bill makes big changes to Medicaid and SNAP, which are two of the main programs that help low-income Americans with medical care and food. Under this new plan, Medicaid would require many adults without kids to work at least 80 hours per month starting in 2026. If they don't, they could lose coverage. Also, instead of checking eligibility once a year, states would now have to recheck every 6 months. That might sound like a small change, but creates more chances for people to get dropped, even if they're still eligible. There are also new co-pays, penalties for states that cover undocumented immigrants, and bans on Medicaid coverage for certain medical procedures. Some of these changes are controversial, and others just add more red tape. For SNAP, or food assistance, the work requirement age goes up from 54 to 64. And if you have kids over age 6, you now need to meet work requirements too. States would also have to pay a bigger share of costs if they make mistakes in their system. That might sound like a push for accountability, but it also puts a huge burden on state governments. And if they can't cover the cost, fewer people might get help. Now, this part is where it gets really tough. When food assistance drops, a lot of people turn to food pantries. But those food banks are already seeing more people than ever, and they can't just keep expanding. They're not meant to be the main support system. If SNAP benefits go down, people still need to eat, and the safety net gets stretched too thin. So then, who's benefiting from this bill the most? Well, that's where the tax cuts come back in. While most Americans will see some kind of tax cut in 2026, maybe around $2,900 on average, the gains aren't equal. If you're earning over $460,000 a year, you could see a tax cut of more than $12,000. But if you make under $35,000, you're looking at a benefit of maybe $160. That's barely noticeable. And many of the deductions for things like overtime or car loan interest disappear after 2028. So then, it creates a pretty sharp contrast. The higher your income, the more you save. The lower your income, the less help you get, and in some cases, you actually lose more in benefits than you gain in tax savings. And here's something you might not have heard. Some economic models are showing that people earning less than $17,000 a year might lose over $800 in income by 2026, mostly because of cuts to Medicaid and food assistance. Even folks making up to $50,000 could lose money on average. Meanwhile, people earning over $174,000 could gain more than $12,000. So while it's being presented as a middle-class tax cut, a lot of the long-term gains go to people at the top. For everyone else, it's a mixed bag. Maybe a little savings here, but higher costs or lost support somewhere else. Now, the folks behind the bill say it's about reducing fraud, encouraging work, and putting more control in the hands of the states. They believe that over time, this will lead to more efficient systems and more personal responsibility. And maybe in some cases, that's true. But the big question is, at what cost? Because when programs like Medicaid or SNAP shrink, they don't just disappear. They shift the responsibility. Families try to cover the gap. Local food banks, hospitals, and schools feel the pressure. And in the end, it's the people with the least room in their budgets who carry the heaviest weight. That's why this bill is getting so much attention. It's not just about taxes or spending. It's about how we take care of people in this country and who we expect to pick up the slack when government support pulls back. And remember, the bill still has to make it through the Senate. There's a lot of debate happening, with some lawmakers pushing for even deeper cuts and others trying to bring back parts like the expanded child tax credit. So it's not over yet. Just pausing for a moment to share something important with you. We've partnered with Chapter, a service we feel confident recommending for clear, honest Medicare help. They'll connect you with a licensed advisor, compare every Medicare plan in your area, and help you save money. Most people save around $1,100 a year. It's free, and their care advocate team is there to support you even after you're signed up. Call 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money using the link in the comments below. But no matter what the final version looks like, the message is clear. The country is shifting toward a new way of thinking about support systems. For people on fixed incomes, or working low-wage jobs, or trying to finish school without going broke. That shift could be the difference between stability and hardship. So let me ask you, do you think this approach helps or hurts everyday people? Would it make things more efficient, or just more confusing and stressful? Leave a comment and let's talk about it. And if this breakdown helped you understand what's really in the bill and how it could affect you or someone you know, go ahead and subscribe. I'll keep sharing updates, walking you through the changes, and helping you figure out what you can do to protect your budget and your future. Thanks for spending time with me today. Stay informed, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.